Good day. Here are the headlines from the Philippine News Agency. We begin with the government's continued efforts to provide affordable food for Filipinos. The Department of Agriculture expects the market price of imported rice to significantly drop in January following a tariff cut. Agriculture Secretary Francisco Chu Laurel Jr. said this is because food prices are expected to spike along with a demand for food products in December and the holiday season. Economic managers earlier projected that Executive Order Number 62, which reduces rice tariffs from 35% to 15%, would lower rice retail prices by around 5 to 7 pesos per kilogram. Chu Laurel, however, said the public may see a drop in prices by October. He said they already observed that some markets sell rice for as low as 42 pesos per kilo. Meanwhile, Chu Laurel assured they will monitor the welfare of local farmers as the country approaches the wet harvest season. He said the National Food Authority continues to buy palay at high prices, so they won't be shortchanged amid the expected increase in supply. The MESA also says they are intensifying efforts to improve the capacity of NFA's post-harvest facilities as well as boost investments in agricultural infrastructures. To date, the NFA has 5 billion pesos worth of funds for its post-harvest facilities. The Department of Trade and Industry and the National Economic and Development Authority have committed to review the 64 pesos per day food threshold that classifies a Filipino as poor. During the plenary deliberations for DTI's 2025 budget, Pangasinan Representative Christopher De Venecia said the NEDA has acknowledged the need to revisit this dataset. He noted that a family of 5 would need a much larger budget to meet daily food needs. He said the DTI and NEDA are working together to address concerns over the threshold, such as methodologies and diet prescriptions, to match them with the needs of Filipinos and prevailing food prices. De Venecia said the DTI has interventions such as the Descuento Caravan to ensure supply of affordable basic necessities. He says DTI also collaborates with private sector partners to make these products accessible to the public. Similar initiatives include the Department of Agriculture's Kadiwa stores and the establishment of a food terminal in Tarlac. NEDA Secretary Arsenio Balisacan earlier clarified the misconceptions about the food and poverty threshold, saying these are not intended to be prescribed budgets for a decent standard of living. He said these metrics are used to assess the country's development and measure the effectiveness of the government's poverty policies and programs. A maritime law expert suggests that the Philippine government to conduct regular patrols in and around Escoda Shoal as part of efforts to manage the situation in the area. University of the Philippines Institute for Maritime Affairs and Law of the Sea Director J. Batumbacal says Manila should continue insisting on its own rights and entitlements over Escoda Shoal. On the sidelines of the Law of the Sea Academy for ASEAN diplomats on Tuesday, Batumbacal says the Philippines must show that it is not backing down against a larger power even if China continues to directly stop it from doing so. Batumbacal agreed that the pullout of BRP Teresa Magbanwa from Escoda Shoal does not necessarily mean a surrender on the part of the Philippines. He said that in the meantime, the government should sustain regular patrols, interfere in the deployment of dredging ships from other states, and expose any illegal activities in the shoal. He also maintained that under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, only the coastal state has the exclusive right to construct artificial islands and installations inside its exclusive economic zone. BRP Teresa Magbanwa was stationed at Escoda Shoal last April amid increased Chinese presence and signs of attempts to build an artificial island there. Former Budget Undersecretary and Procurement Service Executive Director Lloyd Christopher Lau, who was implicated in the Pharmally scandal, was arrested in Ecolan, Davao City on Wednesday. The Criminal Investigation and Detection Group said Lau was placed under the custody of the CIDG's Regional Field Unit in Davao Region. He posted a 90,000 peso bail after a short time of detention. Lau has a standing warrant of arrest issued by the Sandigan Bayan 1st Division on September 12. He is facing graft charges filed by the Office of the Ombudsman along with former Health Secretary Francisco Duque III. The two officials were tagged in the alleged irregular transfer of over 41.4 billion pesos from the Department of Health to the PBS-BBM from March to December 2020. They were also embroiled in the controversial awarding of the multi-billion peso contracts for COVID-19 medical supplies to the Pharmally Pharmaceuticals Corporation by the past administration. Lau is likewise implicated in the procurement of overpriced laptop computers for teachers of the Department of Education. In a separate statement, former Blue Ribbon Committee Chair and Senator Richard Gordon welcomed Lau's arrest, but he said Lau should be charged with the non-bailable offense of plunder. Senator Riza Hontiveros, meanwhile, said Lau should be prompted to reveal the mastermind behind the Pharmally issue. In other news, veteran broadcast journalist Dindo Amparo, or Fernando Sanga in real life, is now the new Director General of the Presidential Broadcast Service, Bureau of Broadcast Services. Sanga took his oath on Wednesday before Communications Secretary Cesar Chavez during the turnover of leadership with outgoing PBS-BBS Chief Rizal Giovanni Aportadera. Sanga started his career in 1987 as a reporter of DZRB Radyo Pilipinas, formerly known as Radyo ng Bayan in Lucena City. He served as Development Information Officer at the Philippine Information Agency from 1987 to 1989 and announcer reporter at the PBS-BBS from 1989 to 1994. He worked for ABS-CBN starting in 1994 as reporter, Middle East News Bureau Chief, Head of News Gathering, and Assistant Vice President. PBS-BBS is the country's public radio network and an attached agency of the Presidential Communications Office. It owns and operates radio stations nationwide with DZRB Radyo Pilipinas Manila as its flagship station. And that's the latest and the biggest stories on the PNA Headlines. For more news updates, please visit our website, pna.gov.ph, or our Facebook and X account, Philippine News Agency. The PNA Headlines is also streamed via the Servicio Facebook page. You may also watch the PNA Headlines through the Philippine News Agency's YouTube account and via the News and Information Bureau website under PNA News. It's 97 days before Christmas. I'm Wilnard Barcelona. This is the PNA Headlines, bringing stories that unite the nation.